Getting your daily dose of cholesterol in one meal, not so yummy secret ingredients, and way too much sugar for a chicken dish. While Walmart's Great Value brand has a lot to offer customers, many of its frozen food options have proved to be unfortunate examples of getting exactly what you pay for. Most of us wouldn't expect a pizza that costs $1 to be a high-quality meal. Thus, it should come as no surprise then that Great Value Microwavable Thin Crust Pepperoni Pizza is one frozen food from Walmart we don't recommend. Not only do customers who have tasted the pizza complain about the flavor, but it's also loaded with salt, fat, and an extreme amount of additives, making it a less than preferable Walmart frozen food pick. By eating this entire mini pizza, you'll incur as much as 25 grams of fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, 65 grams of carbs, and 550 calories. If that doesn't make you cringe, how about the fact that the pizza is made up of 1,160 milligrams of sodium? With all these factors combined, we'd recommend you avoid this Great Value offering at all costs. Starting with the reviews, people either love or hate the Great Value Meat Lovers Breakfast Bowl. Some claim this generic branded bowl tastes better than more popular brands, while others deem it dry, lacking meat, and containing mostly potatoes. Aside from the split reviews, we're most concerned with the nutrition facts associated with the frozen breakfast offering. If consumed in one sitting, expect to swallow 33 grams of fat, 14 grams of saturated fat, 440 calories, and 980 milligrams of sodium in a single serving. Cholesterol levels are also a major cause for concern. This frozen food grab contains a whopping 235 milligrams of the compound, totaling 78% of your daily value. Lastly, you'll want to watch out for the extra additives, and while not all of them will prove harmful, eating whole foods that are less processed is always the wisest move.
Now, most of the time, I bet you don't even think about what you're eating. That's not good.
Great Value Churro Cheesecake Squares might sound like a decadent treat, but there's a reason they're delightfully sweet. These cheesecake squares are packed with sugar, as well as boasting 17 grams of fat, 10 grams of saturated fat, and 55 carbs in each square. Obviously, taking in too much sugar is bad for your health, but how much sugar is too much can be confusing to decipher. To put it in perspective, the American Heart Association recommends that women consume no more than 25 grams of sugar per day, and men no more than 36 grams of sugar daily.
The average is 21 teaspoons a day.
21?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Heart Association is saying it should be 7.5 teaspoons a day.
With that in mind, it's easy to see why we take issue with buying Great Value Churro Cheesecake Squares. At 33 grams of added sugar per serving, it'll put you over or very close to that recommended value. Lastly, be aware of the multiple additives found on the ingredient label. Dextrose, for example, has been associated with sharp spikes in blood sugar. This could spell trouble for those already dealing with insulin complications. It might be tempting to pick up a box of Great Value macaroni and cheese, but doing so won't do you any favors in the health department. The reviews aren't kind either, as customers tend to complain about Great Value macaroni and cheese being watery and unseasoned. With that said, this watery and unseasoned frozen macaroni and cheese is also extremely high in sodium, fat, and calories. In fact, one tray of this frozen food will run you 460 calories, 19 grams of fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, 56 carbs, and of course, 1,070 milligrams of sodium. Just so you know, the serving size for this entire tray is about 1 1/8 cup of macaroni and cheese. Given these nutrition facts, we can only hope you stay satiated, but for most mac and cheese lovers, 1 cup might not quite be enough. Great Value classic corn dogs might be a feasible frozen food option at Walmart, but only if you can manage to eat just one. For a single Great Value corn dog, you'll incur about 200 calories, 8 grams of fat, 2.5 grams of saturated fat, 610 milligrams of sodium, and 24 grams of carbs. Don't forget that since the batter on a corn dog is generally sweet, we can add 8 grams of sugar to the total as well. Planning to down 2 corn dogs instead of 1? You'll have to double all those numbers. And those 16 grams of sugar you'll ingest is more than you'd get from eating a McDonald's apple pie, which comes in at 13 grams. Lastly, the reviews are in, and people generally hate these frozen corn dogs from Walmart, citing everything from broken wood pieces in the dog itself to poor flavor. Great Value Stuffed Crust 3-meat pizza sounds delicious, but is it worth the buy? According to most reviews, yes, it is. Even so, plan on enjoying this pizza only once in a blue moon if health is a priority. The serving size for this pizza is only 1/5 of a pizza, and for that, you'll get 350 calories, 18 grams of fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, and 820 milligrams of sodium. If you're inclined to eat more than 1/5 of the pie, these numbers will double or triple depending on how much you consume. In addition to gnarly nutrition facts, the additives found in the 3-meat pizza include BHA, BHT, and dextrose. BHA and BHT work to keep dry goods fresh, but ongoing research notes the possibility of these compounds causing cancer in humans. With all things considered, we think this is one frozen food at Walmart that you'd be better off skipping. General Tso's chicken is traditionally fried and covered in a deliciously sweet and syrupy sauce. Thus, it's no wonder why Great Value General Tso's chicken might be a pass in the health department.
General Tso's chicken is no longer listed under specialties.
Though this pick might not be the typical dessert-style dish you'd expect to deliver high added sugar totals, you can expect to receive as much as 22 grams in a single cup of the dish. For reference, this is only 1 gram shy of the amount of sugar contained in a vanilla cone from McDonald's. Along with the sugar comes 10 grams of fat, 480 milligrams of sodium, and 290 calories. Also, let's not forget that 1 cup of General Tso's might be a modest portion for many of us. Aside from being unhealthy, customers who've eaten the Great Value Cheeseburger sliders say they don't taste great either. Patrons complain that these frozen sliders are unreasonably small, don't taste as good as White Castle, and contain little to no dehydrated onions.
Just thinking about those tender little White Castle burgers. Those little itty-bitty grilled onions that just explode in your mouth like flavor crystals.
Additionally, the sandwiches tend to be haphazardly thrown together and, as a result, require you to assemble the sliders yourself. As for the nutritional profile of Great Value Cheeseburger sliders, expect to consume 320 calories, 15 grams of fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, and 430 milligrams of sodium per 2 sliders. Obviously, if you usually knock back more than 2 sliders, these stats will multiply. The Great Value Sausage and Gravy Breakfast Bowl is stacked with 23 grams of fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, and 630 milligrams of sodium. It also has plenty of cholesterol, 210 milligrams, which makes up 70% of your daily value. In addition, the Great Value Sausage and Gravy Breakfast Bowl contains many additives, making it a highly processed meal that we aren't sure is great for your health. Tetrasodium pyrophosphate, for example, may cause nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting for some people, according to the doctors over at Is It Bad For You? Other additives like artificial flavoring also aren't ideal, as research is ongoing about the effects additives like these could have on your health. Even with those eye-popping nutritional facts, customers complain that the portion given in this individualized breakfast is unusually small, barely covering the bottom of the tray. Thus, if you ask us, this grab simply isn't wise. Great Value Stuffed Shells pasta looks delicious on the package, and indeed, most customers confirm that its flavor is pretty good. Still, when purchasing this frozen food from Walmart, you should be aware that the amount of food you get might be deceiving, especially if you expect the shells to make up the majority of the entree. Unfortunately, the biggest gripe concerning this pasta is that it isn't enough food, given how much you pay for it. Depending on what part of the country you're in, the shells come in around $7.47, and some buyers have claimed that this 4-shell frozen food option mostly seemed to be made up of sauce. What's worse is that the serving size printed on the nutrition label is for only 1 shell, which comes with 10 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of saturated fat, 790 milligrams of sodium, and 30 carbs. Once doubled, tripled, or quadrupled, you could wind up compromising your long-term health, especially when consumed frequently. Great Value Chocolate Cream Pie is a Walmart frozen food that fails in multiple ways. First, and pretty importantly, most patrons don't enjoy it. On top of that, the serving sizes listed on the nutrition label are only for 1/8 of the entire pie. This means that even in this tiny portion, you'll consume 270 calories, 12 grams of fat, 8 grams of saturated fat, and 19 grams of sugar. Lastly, the Great Value Chocolate Cream Pie contains all sorts of interesting ingredients most people won't find in their kitchens. Polysorbate 60, for example, has been shown to potentially negatively impact gastrointestinal health. Meanwhile, mono and diglycerides, though generally regarded as safe for consumption, may contain trans fats often linked to a heightened risk of heart disease. This is because there is currently no way of knowing how much trans fat is in foods containing mono and diglycerides. Hot Pocket-style Sammys are always convenient frozen food grabs, but great value ham and cheese-filled sandwiches might not be worth the buy. To be fair, reviews are about 50-50 when it comes to this ham and cheese pocket, but aside from the reviews, there's also your health to consider. Sadly, these sandwiches are packed with fat, sodium, calories, and carbs. When eating both sandwiches, you'll consume 680 calories, 28 grams of fat, 16 grams of saturated fat, 1,080 grams of sodium, and 88 grams of carbs. Don't forget the variety of additives mentioned on the ingredient label. Though quick and easy, we can't recommend these sandwiches or their varieties in good conscience. As you may know, yummy all-natural Dino Nuggets are a popular pick marketed towards kids, with great value Dino-Shaped chicken breast nuggets presumably being the generic version of this brand name. Due to their similarities, we decided to compare the two and discovered a few findings we'd like to report. First, we'd like to highlight that Great Value nuggets contain nearly double the amount of sodium that the Yummy All Natural brand does. The Walmart version has 620 milligrams of sodium per 94 grams, while Yummy nuggets include only 390 milligrams per 85 grams. While we realize there's a discrepancy in serving sizes here, we aren't sure the difference between the two justifies the increase in sodium amounts. In addition, Great Value nuggets contain more additives than its brand name competitor. Yummy All Natural Dino Nuggets, as the name would imply, consists of simplistic ingredients. Meanwhile, the Great Value variety includes maltodextrin, sodium phosphate, and food starches.